Welcome, everybody, to Red October. It's finally here. And you know who else is here? Our guys, Owen and Luke from All Philly All the Time. They will be joining us here for the pre and post game shows. Super, super excited. Guys, welcome to the pregame show.
Thank you for having us. We're also super excited. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, looking for this great opportunity with you guys.
We got the Phillies and the Mets. First time ever in the playoffs, which is kind of crazy considering how long both teams have been, rivals of each other. So I want to hear what do you guys think? What are your thoughts coming into the series today?
Yeah, well, I'm super pumped, obviously, to see the Phillies back in the postseason. Red October is such a fun time of the year for Philly fans, and postseason baseball is just great for everyone. I think it's crazy, like you said, that this is the first time that we're seeing the Phillies versus the Mets in the postseason. But if it's anything like the last couple of years where we've been facing the Braves and absolutely wiping them out in the playoffs, I'd love to see us do the same thing to the Mets here in the NLDS.
Yeah, it's kind of high risk, high reward with the rivals. Like, it's amazing if we beat them, and it's so heartbreaking if we lose. Very similar to the Braves. I would have loved if the 08 to 11 era Phillies had played the Mets in the playoffs, because I feel like that was like the peak of the rivalry. We don't have like a ton of these Mets players that we specifically hate. Like Starling Marte is a known Philly killer, but I don't think we have a ton of aggression towards specific guys. I'm sure we will by the end of this series, but anytime you play the Mets, it's going to be electric.
Especially with the huge comeback win over the Brewers. And I am concerned with the fans. That's the main thing I'm worried about, because you've seen it in the regular season time and time again, where the Mets fans just kind of take over Citizens Bank Park, whether it's the porch in left field or the third base away dugout side. And you see the ticket prices, they're like $300 at the cheapest to get in. So I think it's cheaper for for the Yankees game than this game, which is kind of crazy. But I am a little bit concerned with the potential fan takeover. So what are your thoughts on that?
We saw it happen in Sixers Knicks, like kind of the same, the New York Philly issue. And it didn't go well in those first couple of games where Knicks fans did that. And then ownership kind of did a little bit better later in the series. But yeah, really just, I believe in John Middleton. I haven't heard anything specific about them taking measures to keep Mets fans out, but yeah, I trust John Middleton to do everything he can to make sure that we have as many Philly fans in there as possible.
Yeah, I think that's such a super important part of Phillies and their playoff run, is that home field advantage that we got by winning our division.
Yeah, that was the whole point.
Exactly. And
we wanted the home field.
We need that home field advantage. And I think it's crucial as a Philly fan base, to get as many of our fans into that stadium as we can. I mean, having the 54-27 best home record in Major League Baseball this year, I think it is so important that we are able to maintain that atmosphere in Citizens Bank.
It's going to be absolutely electric. And talking about that home percentage, the Phillies are 7-6 against the Mets this year, but 3 of those losses were Taijuan Walker starts, a guy who isn't even on the NLDS roster. So a huge boost, I think, because Zach Wheeler, we'll get into that. Actually, we'll talk about it now. Zach Wheeler, Owen, you saying his revenge game, that's a major key to the game.
Yes, I love that the story came out. I don't know who talked about it initially, but it's out there everywhere now. The story that came out about the Mets making Zach Wheeler pay for his tickets during their playoff run in 2015, them not really like welcoming him around the team while he was rehabbing during all of that. Love that story came out now as the extra fuel for us to all know that he doesn't like the Mets. So yeah, I think Zach Wheeler hopefully will be able to come out and have a little bit of extra juice just because he's pitching against the Mets. So super excited to see that. And it's going to be huge that he is able to pitch well in this game, ideally, because we've seen teams coming off of this bye. The bats are a little cold. They take a little bit to adjust. So the Phillies offense might not be putting up a lot of runs this game. And so it's even more important that Wheeler is able to shut down the Mets.
Now, Luke, get into yours. You're saying that the Phillies need to contain Pete Alonso. So what are your thoughts specifically on this?
Yeah, I mean, you guys saw it in the wild card series. Brewers are looking really strong. They're winning the whole game in that third wild card game. And then Pete Alonso comes out with a 3-run blast in the 9th inning to take the Mets to the NLDS. And I think that he's a scary figure. And I think that he's somebody that is bouncing back right now towards the end of this season. Maybe not a super strong year for a strong Pete Alonso that we know, but he bounced back in that wild card game. And I think that he's really going to come out gunning for the Phillies in this series. But I think, kind of on Owen's note of that Zach Wheeler revenge game, I think that we're really going to be able to contain Pete Alonso in this series with Zach Wheeler in that first game and Christopher Sanchez in the next game, Aaron Nola following that. I think that, our pitchers have shown time and time again that they can contain some of these big bats. And I really hope that that we are able to do the same with Pete Alonso, who's coming off of a hot wild card series.
Now, Jake, who's checking in, says Pete Alonso is going to contain Pete Alonso. Interestingly enough, he says he can't hit in high leverage situations, which may be true, but you did see the previous game. So what do you think? Is Pete Alonso not clutch? Are we coming on here and saying that? Do you guys agree?
I don't think we can say that after he just hit one of the most clutch home runs in recent postseason history.
I know he's not Bryce Harper, but
yeah.
He doesn't have that. He doesn't have that October gene like Bryce Harper does, but he does have some big, some big hits in the moment.
Even if he wasn't confident previously and didn't perform previously, I think having that home run now moving forward, he's going to feel great in clutch situations. Like, oh, I've done this before.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw all of Mets Twitter during that game up until that at bat was like, I want Pete Alonso gone. I think it was Frank the Tank. He's like, get him off. I hope he walks as a free agent. And then obviously hits the home run. And now everyone's like, oh, Pete Alonso, we love you so much. Like,
basically pulled a Rhys Hoskins where he made it for at first base and then made up for it with a huge home run.
Oh, my goodness. That would have been cool to have played Rhys Hoskins in the divisional round. You know that the meme, Wesley Snipes with the gun and he's crying? He's like aiming the gun and he's crying. And that's how, like, it was like Rhys Hoskins beating the Rhys Hoskins in the divisional series, something like that. So that would have been cool. But, I think that beating the Mets, that'll be even better than beating Rhys Hoskins. Yeah, Adam agrees. Beat the Mets. Let's go Phillies. Pete Alonso versus Zach Wheeler all time. 3 RBIs, 9 strikeouts in 34 at-bats. So that's a good stat there because Zach Wheeler does have success against the Mets. Even this year, he only pitched once, but he only gave up 2 runs in 7 innings. Did get the loss, unfortunately, but that's more so on the offense not performing. But talking a lot about Zach Wheeler, I'm going to get to my key. Is don't let Kodai Senga get comfortable. This is a guy that has pitched in one game the whole season, one game, and it was all the way back in July. And he only pitched 5 and not even 6 innings. So tell me where you've heard this before. The Phillies are playing a divisional rival at home, and they're facing the ace of the team who hasn't really pitched in recent months. Where have you heard that before? It's the Braves with Spencer Strider. I think that if you let Senga get comfortable early, he's going to go. I don't think that he's going to go deep because I don't think the Mets are going to want to overthrow him their first game, especially if he's going to be that game 4 starter, if there is a game 4. So I think that he's going to go 4 to 5 innings. I could even see him getting pulled earlier than that, but I'm assuming Tyler McGill is going to be the long relief person that comes in after him, and he kind of shut down the Phillies not too long ago. So I think they just need to pounce on Senga early because if he gets comfortable, then I think the Phillies are in a little bit of trouble.
Absolutely. It's such a weird situation for Senga because you haven't pitched in a real live game and you're thrown into what should be a rocking Citizens Bank Park. So hopefully the crowd can play a big role in that. That's a crazy game to get tossed back into the mix for.
Yeah, I think
Luke, what with Kodai Senga and the crowd, I want to hear, what do you think?
Yeah, I think not letting him get comfortable is key. And I think Owen said the bats tend to come cold out of a break, a rest period like we had with that first round bye. So I think that maybe that's a struggle in the first inning or two. But I think if we can really jump on it early and just absolutely rock Senga in the bank and, home run after home run, base hit after base hit, whatever you want to call it, however you want to get these runs in, if we can knock him out early and go deep into their bullpen, that only is going to benefit us later in the series when they have to go back to that bullpen. If we can go deep into that bullpen, I think, we'll see a lot of success in this first game of the series and the rest of the games of this series going forward.
And Edwin Diaz threw over 30 pitches the other night. So is he even going to be available for tonight if it's a close game? And if he is he going to be the same Edwin Diaz? I mean, closers don't really throw that many pitches. So a little bit curious. So got to get to the bullpen early. But what we're going to get to now before we make our final predictions for the series, we're going to get to the triple play today. So let's see what we all cooked today. So we got 2 triple plays today. I'm going to start with the all Philly all the time triple play. So you tell me why these? Why these?
Well, we started off like we've been talking about with Zach Wheeler. We had to put something with Zach on there. We're expecting him to come out firing, have a great game. So 6 strikeouts or more feels pretty safe, honestly. If he goes more than 6 innings, I feel like he should. We feel very confident about that one. And then Bryce Harper is going to have all the expectations in every Phillies playoff game. So we're expecting him to at least just get on base. So another safer one there. And then we took a big swing with a Brandon Marsh home run because he has a track record of hitting home runs in these playoff games and especially in the day games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that, I love the Zach Wheeler odds there. I think that, I think we're safe with, 7, 8, even 9 strikeouts. So I think that 6+ is a really good line for us. I think we'll definitely see that out of him today. And I really hope we see that out of him today. I think that's a crucial part of today's game. Bryce Harper, obviously, is hitting the ball all the time. Got to see that out of him. Got to see that back going. And like Owen said, Brandon Marsh in those playoff day games, it's a great thing to see.
And we got Jake. Jake saying that Kodai Senga over 2.5 strikeouts is at -130. So I don't think Vegas is projecting him to go long at all.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see if there's an innings because it's so weird with the outs recorded. They're usually spot on every time I check, which is kind of insane. Walks allowed. No, there's no current outs recorded. There's outs recorded for Wheeler, but there's none for Senga. So I don't think that they are expecting him to go for probably more than 2 or 3 innings.
Yeah, that's a really interesting line, which is very telling because 2.5 strikeouts, that's probably nothing with how much the Phillies lineup strikes out.
Yeah, it's like a Taiwan Walker kind of line. But going to the HRS triple play, I do have over on 7 total runs. I think that the Phillies are going to get most of these, especially off Senga and McGill. I just think that environment, the bats are going to be swinging. I think Wheeler's going to give up 1 solo home run, but I think that's really it. But I think the Phillies are going to get a good amount of runs, and I do like the over at 7. Alec Boehm to get 2+ total bases at +205. I mean, it's Alec Boehm. I feel like he's always going to hit a double. That's literally, anytime I do this bet, he just gets a double. So I feel like it's kind of free money a little bit, but against Senga, he's 1 for 5. So not really a ton of history, but it's a righty-righty matchup. I feel good about it. And then Schwarber to get an RBI +155. Whether it's a Schwarbomb or just a sac fly, I think he'll get that. Like I said, I think it's going to be a phenomenal day offensively for the Phillies, I hope. So I do think Schwarber will be providing that, at least one of the RBIs. But then the bonus bet for Dikembe Mutombo, for Pete Rose, for Liam, who's in the building. I just think it's a match made in heaven for Castellanos to get a home run today at plus 650. So what do you guys think of plus 650?
Yeah, I love Nick Castellanos for a home run today. It's unfortunate that he likes to hit home runs in these these down scenarios, but I think I love when Nick Castellanos hits a home run no matter when it is. So yeah, I love seeing a Nick Castellanos home run today.
Yeah, I think we all would, and it would be Nick Castellanos has another guy like we did with Marsh. Castellanos has been a big home run guy for the Phillies in the playoffs. So very plausible, another righty-righty matchup. And the crowd would go nuts if he hit a home run.
Yeah.
Did you see Castellanos did an interview the other day, and ESPN wanted to run a story on him as the guy that hits home runs during unfortunate situations, but he'd said no because ESPN wouldn't give him like creative freedom or something, or like they were going to make it.
And give him editorial rights, which like they wouldn't like let him confirm or approve. Like, okay, yeah, this is good. Don't use this. Like, which seems like a pretty basic thing to allow him, but I don't know why they would turn that down.
I don't know. ESPN's kind of weird with that kind of stuff, but going back to the pitching, GRS 177 says he's heard that Senga's going to go 1 or 2 times through the lineup, and then McGill will enter. So, I mean, could go anywhere from 2 to 6 innings. You never know with something like that. It's an injury. You never know. Schwarber's at minus 135 to draw a walk. So Vegas looking like he is expected to draw a walk today. But all these bets, make sure we always say bet the parlays, bet them on their own. So that way you hit them. And then go to Win Daily, use that promo code HEAT. You could get 50% off for a year. You could get 12 months for the price of 6. You never know. So make sure you are getting over to Win Daily now. So guys, final predictions for today and for the series as a whole.
You want it or me?
I'll go first. Yeah. Phillies are winning today. Final score 5-2. And then series overall, I think the Phillies are going to win the series 3-1 to move on to the NLCS. I think we're going to win the first 2 games at home. We're going to go to New York, and I think we're going to lose that first game in New York, and we're going to finish it out strong there, win that 4th game.
I love that. Give the Mets a little bit of hope.
Yeah.
And then crush them in their own stadium.
You got to do it.
I have the Phillies sweeping. I'll say that right off the top because I want to draw a comparison between this series and another playoff matchup that we've seen before. The 2022 Philadelphia Eagles got a first-round bye in the playoffs. And then the team that won in the wild card round was an upstart New York team who everybody was like, oh, they're kind of fun. They could go on a run here in the New York Giants. The Eagles came out. They smoked the Giants. Never a doubt. Just demolished them. So I'm thinking with those parallels, this series goes very similarly where the Mets are a very fun team. They're scary because they have all this momentum, but I think that the Phillies are the better team and they come out and sweep them 3-0. They're close games, but 3-0, see you Mets.
And then the next round, they go and they play a juggernaut team from California.
Yes, see that.
Oh,
and there is a team from Kansas City that's still in the playoffs right now. So
that was perfect.
Yeah.
Does that mean the Phillies are going to have a midseason collapse next year?
Well, we don't have to get that far.
We're not going to go there. But
we don't even have to go as far as they lost in the championship. After the NLCS.
Cut that. We're just going to edit that out. We're not speaking it into existence. We're not doing any of that because it's not going to happen because the Phillies are going to win every single game in this postseason and we're going to have a parade down Broad Street. But regarding
we're going to play the Kansas City Royals in the World
Series.
Dude,
if that happens, it's real.
I wonder if that's ever happened before. Like where 2 different teams from the same city had the exact same like playoff. Like they played a New York team, an LA team, and a Kansas City team. Like I wonder if that's ever happened before.
Yeah, someone find that out. But it's totally possible because Will Smith is on the Royals and Will Smith wins the World Series. So
Yeah,
it could absolutely happen.
I did say the only two teams I see coming out of the American League. I said this before, like once the playoffs began, like before any of the games actually started. I said the only two teams I really see coming out of the American League are the Yankees and the Royals. So I really think, and the same thing with the NL. I said I can really only see the Phillies or the Mets. So I feel like those two series, whoever wins that, I feel like there's a good chance that they play in the World Series. But my final predictions, I'm gonna go 3-1 Phillies. Exactly the same. I think that they're gonna lose one in New York. Kind of, I don't know. I just feel like Aaron Nola on the road. You had that one Padres game a couple years ago where just the Padres were on everything. They weren't really super hot the entire series except for that one game. And I think that's going to be very similar here. So I think they're gonna win convincingly tonight. Probably 7-2 is my final prediction. But then tomorrow, close game. I think it'll be a 1 or 2 run difference. Phillies take that, and then game 3, Phillies will lose convincingly, but then it'll be a close victory in game 4. So I do think the Phillies are going to win 3-1. I'm with you on that, Luke. Jake says that he's going to have the Mets win 4-3 today because the bullpen implodes at the end, and Alvarado pitching in the 8th inning. Is that going to actually happen? He says he's going to give up a 3-run homer to Brandon Nimmo. Jake, you are getting banned from watching these. I'm going to put you in timeout. Yeah, Jake Hoppin. It actually banned him.
Oh, you accidentally.
I thought timeout meant he just had to like leave for a bit.
Whoops.
Sorry, Jake. I didn't mean to do that. Full transparency, Jake graduated with us from the Dan Patrick School of Sportscasting. So we're not blocking a rando. This is one of our good friends. So
and he knows his baseball, so that's a legitimate thing that could happen. We need to have our bullpen be the bullpen that finally shuts down the Mets after their past 2 series.
Yeah. Oh my God. But what was it? I was gonna say something about Jake. Oh, Florida man. Jake is actually calling me right now.
Because he's like, what happened?
I don't know if I want to answer this. We are live, so
I'll text him for you. I'll be like, hey, it was an accident.
Let's send him a text. Whoops. Sorry. There we go.
Oh man.
I'm sure our group chat's gonna be blowing up. But he did curse the Phillies last year. He became a Phillies fan right after the Rays won. Him and Dave Portnoy cursed the team. So I don't know. Maybe it's a good thing that he stays on time. But talking a little bit to the other, I have AL. I don't know why. I think because I was just tracking the NL leading up to it. But right now, Tigers Guardians. Last time I checked, it was 5-0 Guardians in the 3rd. It is still 5-0 end of the 3rd inning. So Tigers, very hot team, but Cleveland unexpectedly one of the best teams in the league this year. What are your guys' predictions on this series?
I think the Tigers' magic runs out, kind of like the Mets. Easier to say now that they're down 5-0. But yeah, the Guardians are really good, and I would say pretty underrated. So I think that it will probably be a Guardians sweep or a 3-1, a gentleman's sweep, because they're legit.
Yeah, I agree with Owen. I think the Guardians are going to run away with this one. I don't think the Tigers have anything left in the tank. I think they had a good run, really hot coming into the playoffs, but yeah, I think the Guardians have shown throughout this season that they really got it this year. I mean, the way they turned it around, them and Kansas City both, the way they turned their seasons around or their years around, and yeah, I think the Guardians are going to come into this one and just take it away.
I think they're like the Yankees of last year, where I could see them getting to the championship series, but I don't actually see them making it to the World Series. But I agree with you guys. I think the Guardians are just they're way too much better. I don't even know if that's proper English or not, but they're way better. than the Tigers. I know they're the hot team. AJ Hinch got some awesome playoff experience, cheating or not. But I do really like the Guardians in this series. I thought they were going to be playing different team. I thought they were going to be playing the Astros, but Tigers swept them. So I do agree. Magic's going to run out. I am going to take Guardians in a sweep. Speaking the other team, Royals, Yankees. Maybe the Phillies are going to play the winner of this team in the World Series. We shall see. But they're playing tonight at 6:38. It is Michael Wacha versus Garrett Cole. So what do you guys think of this series?
I think this is one of the more exciting. I mean, there's only 4, but in the NL, you've got your 2 divisional rivalries. Those are going to be crazy. Dodgers, Padres, and Phillies, Mets. Like the atmosphere at both of those is going to be nuts. So Royals, Yankees, I think is going to be a really fun series that'll kind of fly under the radar underneath the NL ones. But this game specifically, some of the stats of Yankees hitters struggling against Michael Wacha are really interesting. And if the Royals steal, kind of like the Phillies mentality against the Braves, like if the Royals steal 1 in New York of the first 2, Yankees fans are going to be very concerned. Like this year, we would be very concerned if the Mets steal 1 of the first 2 in New York, in Philly, and then we have to go back to New York. So, yeah, like you said with the Royals turning around their season, they're really just playing with house money. Like this is just a fun run for them. The Yankees are under so much pressure; they need to win this. So it'll be fun to see Yankees fans really stressed out if they lose one of these 2 in New York.
Yeah, I love Kansas City in this matchup. And maybe that's just out of pure disdain for the Yankees. But yeah, I would love to see Kansas City pull this one out. I love the Will Smith storyline. I love a lot of things about that series. And I think Owen said it great. It's going to be a fun series to watch. And yeah, it probably will fly under the radar because of the crazy NL rivalries. And yeah, so I think the Royals are going to take it. I think it's going to be a hard fought. I think the Royals are going to win. I think it's going to be a hard fought series. I don't think it's going to be a sweep by anybody. I think it's kind of going to go back and forth. But yeah, I think ultimately the Royals are going to win this series.
I didn't make an official pick. I forgot to do that. Yeah. I think the Yankees are the best team in the AL. I think they'll get it done, even if it's scary.
It's also Bobby Witt's revenge because he would arguably be the AL MVP if it weren't for Aaron Judge or Juan Soto. So kind of gets his revenge, shows up, gets the last laugh. I'm very conflicted, but I'm going to say Yankees in 5 because I just don't see – like the Royals are so good, and I really think they have a legitimate shot at winning the World Series. But I just think the Yankees are too good. They're under more pressure. Juan Soto is in a contract year, so if he's already going to get probably over $500 million. So maybe he'll get close to or over Ohtani money if he has an elite postseason run. So I think he's under tremendous pressure. Just everybody in that series, I think, huge. No Anthony Rizzo, though, for the Yankees. He has the finger injury, so he will not be on the roster. But going back to Tigers, Guardians, Phillies, and Mets, it's the 2 divisional rivals. Their first time each in the playoffs, which is kind of crazy. But then the big one, the one that all Phillies and Mets fans will be keeping their eyes on, it's Padres, Dodgers. Sure to be punches thrown in the stands. I'm 100% certain of that. So, guys, who do you think are the Padres going to eliminate the Dodgers for the second time in 3 years?
They definitely can. This is very similar to Phillies Mets with the electricity of 2 rivals. The Padres are so good. They almost caught the Dodgers there at the end, didn't quite, but they're right there with the Dodgers. And the rivalry is super fun. So this series, if I could only watch one series, obviously I would take the Phillies, but as a neutral fan, like this is the most hyped up, the best series that will be going on. So that's, it's going to be crazy. The Padres don't have Joe Musgrove, so that's an interesting twist for them. But I still think that the Dodgers will be able to do, again, like with the Yankees and the Dodgers have this immense pressure where like the Dodgers built this amazing team. They have to do more than lose in the NLDS. Like they have to at least get to the NLCS, and even losing in the NLCS would be a disappointment for them. But Yeah, similar to the Yankees, just the crazy amount of pressure on the Dodgers. They kind of have to win this series. I would say this one also goes 5 because the Padres are so good. And then Shohei Ohtani hits a walk-off home run to win Game 5.
Wow.
That's a bowl. I like it though.
Crazy.
I like it.
But
Yeah. I think the Padres came out of the regular season very hot. I think they came into this playoff run, obviously gunning for that World Series, as everybody is. But I think this Padres team really saw the potential that they had. And ultimately, I think it's going to be shut out by the Dodgers, not a shutout series. I think that light is going to be shut out on the Padres by the Dodgers. I think the Dodgers will win in 5. I don't think Shohei is going to hit a walk-off home run, but I think the Dodgers are going to win in 5, make it to the CS just to lose to the Phillies. I think the Dodgers have that choking gene every year after year. They can't ever figure it out, but I do think that they are going to beat the Padres in 5. I think that lineup is just, the Padres have a stacked lineup, but that Dodgers lineup is something special that is just absolutely so fun to watch every single game that they play. But yeah.
My biggest concern is that A, the Dodgers can't stay healthy. B, Dave Roberts, very questionable in the playoffs. And C, I'm concerned with Freeman and Betts because in these big games for the Dodgers, they just haven't performed for some reason. So I think Game 1, I'm going to say whoever wins Game 1 is winning the series. Mm-hmm. And if Dave Roberts has a disaster class once again, they don't even make it to the championship series, I think he'll get fired. So I think he's under a tremendous amount of pressure because now you have Ohtani, his first playoff game ever, which is pretty insane to think about. But I am going to say Dodgers in 5. I think this is going to be, I don't know. It's between this and the Royals Yankees. I think that'll be the best series in all the playoffs. But I do say Dodgers in 5. But let's get to some of these comments now. Got Timothy Fleming saying, "Let's go Mets and good luck though." So he's a good Mets fan. We'll let Timothy Fleming off.
One of the few.
One of the very few. I don't have a good history with Mets fans. But Jake says the Yankees have a 75 to 80% winning percentage against the AL Central. So very interesting stat there because if they do win, they're going to have to play an AL Central team in the championship series. But got Ryan Lapp checking in. He said, "Where's your backwards hat, Owen?"
I didn't fit in with the crowd.
I got plenty. I can lend you one if you need it.
Yeah, I might have to do that next time.
If they win this game though, you have to wear it. No hat. But if they lose, you got to wear that.
Yeah. And then we have to switch it up. I like.
Yeah. That. But we are working through some things. Either next episode or by Game 3, 100%. It'll be live on All Philly all the time. Just today was on Heat Ratio, but we are going to get it on All Philly all the time. We are working on it, but I appreciate it. Like the setup. Shout out to my girlfriend, Courtney. She made those. She's very talented at making all those. So David says Dodgers all the way. David from Cedar Hill, Texas. So going with the Dodgers. I'm not sure. I just don't trust their guys.
Would you rather say the Phillies move on? Would you rather they play the Dodgers or the Padres?
Probably I don't know though, because if the Dodgers make it to the championship series, then they have some kind of momentum, and then just Ohtani scares me. But I don't know. I would say the Padres, but I don't know because then I'm so indecisive. I'd rather just make it to the World Series. But Jake, he did tell me this. So the number 1 seed has won the World Series in every even year. So 2022 was the Astros. They were the 1 seed. 2020 was the Dodgers. They were the 1 seed. And then every other season wasn't the 1 seed. So if history remains the same, then the World Series champions will either be the Dodgers or the Yankees. I feel like that's the MLB's wet dream, is having a Yankees-Dodgers World Series, getting to go from New York to L.A. But Jake says Ohtani's going over with 3 Ks.
Playoff jitters.
First playoff game? I don't think so. Crazy. I think he'll get at least 1 hit.
Wow. Jake also sent me, while he was blocked, to go back to our discussion of the parallels of cities. He said in 2018 the Red Sox and Dodgers played each other, and there you go. Yeah. So that great research, Jake. Shout out to you. Fantastic pool. Yeah, that's very cool that happened, and I completely forgot about that.
Yeah,
that was so was it? That was the worst Super Bowl of all time.
Worst Super Bowl and one of the greatest World Series.
Yeah, which is very different parallels. But oh my god, that Pats Rams game is the least favorite game of football I've ever watched.
Awful.
And then the Maroon 5 halftime show, and then thought Sweet Victory was gonna play, but that was like 2 seconds, so it ruined it even more. But yeah, not just Philly moments of the night, because slogan here, Heat Ratio Sports, we're not just Philly. So talk about all the baseball Philly stuff. Now touch on some other stuff. Terry Francona just unretired. I thought he stepped away due to health concerns with the Guardians, but now the Guardians are seemingly going to win game 1 of the divisional series. So 2 games away from a championship series, but their former manager who made the World Series with them in 2016 is the Cincinnati Reds new manager. So shout out to Alex Sackett, another fellow graduate of the Dan Patrick School of Sportscasting. Sure, he's thrilled about that. So thoughts on Tito going to Cincy?
Yeah, Alex has been very strongly anti-David Bell literally since day one of us knowing him in the sportscasting program. I think.
Remember he did the rant for the vocal training.
One of our first times in the studio went after David Bell. I love this move for the Reds. It's a young team. You bring in a really experienced manager that everybody loves. They are probably even without Terry, they were one of the top candidates of teams to take a leap this coming year, and I think adding him just makes that case even stronger.
Yeah, I'll back everything Owen said. I think it's a strong move by the Reds. Young team, some really powerhouse studded players on that team, and I think that we could really see some contention out of the Reds next year. I think they're going to build in the offseason, and I think that coming into next season, they're going to be one of the better teams out there for sure.
And the NL Central is wide open.
Yeah,
wide open. I could see them making a big splash. Are they going to be a candidate for Juan Soto? Is that going to be a conversation? I don't know. I feel like the Reds
want to go to Cincinnati.
That's also a good point. He did play in Washington, but I really love this. It's an aggressive move. It's showing that the Reds want to win because you're not bringing in you're taking a risk on a new coach. You're bringing in a guy that has been to World Series before, a guy who has playoff experiences, coaches of the year, manager of the year. So I love this for the Reds. I think they are definitely going to be a threat next season. But going to the AL Central, and a team that's not in the playoffs because they had an embarrassing collapse. The Twins general manager, Thad Levine, announced he's stepping down. Brought in Carlos Correa. That was probably the biggest move of his time there. After the whole signed for the year, and then he signed with the Giants and the Mets, fell through, came back to the Twins. Twins were pretty much locked for a playoff appearance this year up until the very end when they just could not stop losing. So what are your thoughts on the future of the Twins?
I always think it's really interesting when a GM steps down versus getting fired, or it's how much of this was their own decision? How much of it was hey, you should step down, kind of forced? So yeah, the behind the scenes when somebody in a high ranking position steps down is always really intriguing to me. I don't know enough about the Twins situation to know if there's any details that could leak about that, but if anything comes out more about the situation there, that's always really interesting to me when somebody steps down. I'm not super worried about the Twins because they had a great season. They collapsed at the end. I still like their roster. It's not like they had huge fatal flaws. They just kind of generally fell apart, and there's not a great explanation for it. So obviously like we said, the NL Central is wide open. The AL Central is loaded now because the Tigers are young, the Royals are young, the Guardians seem to always be good. And then there's the White Sox, but the Twins are a solid team. So whatever GM comes in should have a pretty good starting point. So I don't think this is a huge concern for them. It's just interesting to see, how they'll move forward from this.
Yeah. kind of like Owen. I don't know a ton about the Twins situation, but what I do know as a fan of sports, especially Philadelphia sports, and watching how the Eagles kind of had their, collapse last year, a very similar situation with the Twins here. And even as far as missing the playoffs for them, I think as a fan just of the game in general, but if I were a Twins fan, I think it's something that I would be happy to see, in that, they're seeing some change in their organization, some of that organization that led to this collapse. But yeah, I mean, like Owen said, the Central is it's going to be a tough competition there next year. And so, yeah, I think it could be a good move, but I think we're going to have to see some more before we can really determine how that's going to pan out for the Twins.
And I like Rocco Baldelli as a coach. I think he does a fine job with that team. I think he actually does a really good, one of the better managers in the, not just American League, but I think the league in general. Do have some guys, Buxton, very injury prone. Carlos Correa is on that long-term deal. But I think they're going to be in wild card contention next year. I think this season was a step back, and I think they're going to stay in that position for at least another year, because I don't really foresee them being better than the Tigers or the Royals anytime soon, unless they make a major addition. But I think they're going to be in a little bit of a mediocrity kind of limbo for a year or two. But yeah, that is the Minnesota Twins. And in college football, week 5 for our old Florida people, the Gators are playing UCF in, I think it's in Gainesville. Is that Gainesville? Gainsborough? I forget what it's at Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gainesville is Florida's home. Yeah.
Yeah. But some really exciting matchups right now. Texas A&M is blowing out Missouri 34-7. So that's a pretty major upset there. I don't see, is there finals for any scores? Or is this just
Louisville was down 2 scores to SMU, but they've come back and tied it up at the end of the third now. So they could be avoiding a huge loss if they're able to pull that one out.
Boston College is in a tight game with Virginia. Bill O'Brien could be the Eagles' next offensive coordinator if Bill Belichick is hired.
No, I don't want that.
I don't know, because I feel like he's going to bring in – I feel like Patricia wouldn't come back, though, as the D coordinator, just because he had the whole debacle last year.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he would come back. But Rutgers and Nebraska, Rutgers is 4-0, which is pretty insane. Rutgers is usually one of the worst teams in the Big Ten, and now they're one of, if not the best team. Clemson, Florida State. Florida State has been awful this year. Any other games you guys are really excited for?
Michigan-Washington is a fun rematch storyline. And Michigan obviously should win that, but just the rematch part of that is a fun storyline. And then Miami, California, obviously, is going to get a lot of attention College game day. So that one's at 10:30. I'm not staying up for that, but I will watch the highlights in the morning.
Yeah.
I'll definitely be up because got the Phillies at 4, and then there's a WWE thing on at 6, and then UFC's on at 10. So I am going to be constantly yelling at the TV for probably a majority of the night. So if I don't have a voice for the pregame show tomorrow, you know why. I'm rooting for Alex Pereira. I'll share some UFC bets because obviously you can't bet on WWE. I wonder why. But UFC, I'll share some. Struck out the last 2 events. I was doing really good, but we'll get to that tonight, see how it will do. But post-game, we're going to try to be on here live 10 minutes after the final out. It's Phillies Mets today. It's game 1 of the divisional series. First time ever it's Phillies and Mets. So I want to thank Owen and Luke for coming on once again. Again, they're going to be on here for every pre and post game show. And then Parker's going to be on some too, right?
Yes. Yeah, he'll be on occasionally.
Yeah. Occasionally. So get all of us. So make sure you're liking, commenting, subscribing to All Philly All the Time and Heat Ratio Sports. So make sure you're pressing that notification bell because you'll get notified as soon as we go live. So make sure you're doing that. So enjoy the game, everyone. Go Phillies. Enjoy this beautiful Red October. And this is just the start. This is game 1. 11, was it 11 wins?
Yes, sir.
World Series? So 11 wins.
Mm-hmm.
11 away from history, from having a parade down Broad Street. So let's have fun with this. Not many teams get to do this. The Phillies missed the playoffs for a decade. I mean, we were in like first or second grade, and then we were in college the next time they made it. So it's just so fun to be able to get to experience this because we didn't really get too much in recent memory. But I know it's me and Owen's first time back up in the Northeast because the last 2 seasons when the Phillies have made it, we were down in Florida. So it's pretty awesome. I just think the vibes up here are really awesome.
Yeah, win or lose, we were saying this on our last episode. Win or lose, I love this team. It's been so fun getting to watch them keep basically the same roster pretty much together for multiple years and them to have so much success. Obviously, we want them to win. That's the best, but I'm just trying to appreciate how much fun this team is.
Yeah, it's a fun team, a fun organization, and not just fun because they're winning, but fun because of the atmosphere that they provide for themselves and for the fans. And it's just a great experience as a fan of the game of baseball, just in general. As a fan of Philly, but a fan of the game of baseball. It's such a fun thing to have.
We could be fans of a team like the White Sox where they're just awful and they lose 120 games. Their owners don't really care, but we have an owner that cares. We have a proven winning president. We have guys that have performed phenomenally in the playoffs. So I'm feeling really good. Again, just so excited. I'm just so stoked. Can't wait, especially against the Mets. We lose to the Mets, I'm not going to be a happy camper. I do not like most Mets fans. I'll leave that out there. Was it Timothy Photography? Where is he at? Yeah, Timothy Fleming Photography. You are a good Mets fan, so you're good. Don't have to worry about anything. But again, make sure you press the notification bell. Get to watch the post-game show today, 10 minutes after the final out. So enjoy the game, everyone. Go Phillies. Stay fresh. Go Phillies. Got to end on that. So go Phillies.
Go.